Hello, Fur and the Fan friends. We are glad you have come back. Apologize for being gone for a couple of weeks, but you know, when you have a job, you got to do the job. That way we can pay for fun things like this little trailer of ours. Hey, I've got some exciting news for you. If you'll remember last time I left you, or we left, we had two of these, what we'll call our trailer hoops, that we glued together, laminated all those little pieces of sticks together. And well, I have a surprise for you. Do you want to see one of the new frames all put together? One all put together? Well, okay, that's not exactly true. The wood's put together, it's held together with fasteners, but it's not the final way we're going to do it. Do you want to see the new frame? I know you've been waiting for the new frame. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you the new frame. I am. No, do it now. Do it now. The neighborhood dog says do it now. So let's whip you around and let's take a look at our frame. Well, here it is. Isn't that a nice looking frame? I'm very excited about it. Like we have been working on for the last several hours and days and weeks. Okay, it seems like that. We have our nice little Glulam frame. We have our columns. And we have framed out, this is where our window will be on our curbside. Down here is where the compartment is. That's going to be under the bench inside of the trailer. And right here is going to be our battery box. I did add an extra brace right here because this is back where the kitchenette is, so I want to have a little bit of an extra spot to secure stuff to if I need to, because I believe that is where the utensil box goes, and I want to have something to connect it all up together. But that's our frame. The cool thing is you've seen it done, and I hope you don't shut off this video. Don't shut it off, because I'm going to show you on the next frame how I did this. I wanted to mix it up a little bit and show you the finished product, and now we're going to show you how we actually did it. Stick with us, will ya? Hello there, Fur and the Fan friends. Have you ever had one of those days when you've had a wardrobe malfunction from your head all the way down to your toes? Well, we seem to be having a wardrobe malfunction today. Look at that shoe. How do you fix a shoe when you don't have any time to go to the store? Well, if you're a longtime listener of Fur and the Fan, you will know one of our favorite tools is duct tape. So today, until we can get to the store and get some new shop shoes, we're going to go ahead and fix this little problem with duct tape. Just wrap that around there like that. Oh, that's nice and secure. Keeps those toes and stuff from getting splinters of wood in it. Keeps my shoe from flopping everywhere. So, a tip from me to you is have a little duct tape in your shop. Take care of these pesky little wardrobe issues. Now let's get back to our build. Step number one, we put our glue laminated frame back into our mold. Step number two, we had to go and buy some longer pieces of wood. The pieces that we bought for our glue lamination were only 8 feet long, and our trailer is 9 feet long. So we had to buy some of these longer pieces. And there was actually a problem at the store. And the problem was they only had like 1 or 2 of these that were long enough and straight enough for our project. So what we ended up doing to get all the pieces we want is to get a 2x6 by 12 feet long. And then we had to cut it into our 2x2 pieces. It was actually an 1/8 inch thicker than the pieces that we bought for our glue laminating. So as you'll see in this video, we had to use a buddy's planer to plane off that 1/8 of an inch so that all of our surfaces would be the same thickness. A lot of information in there, but it's important. You want everything to be nice and flat and equal, or you'll have lumps and bumps in your walls and We don't want lumps and bumps in the walls, right? Right. So let's go ahead and cut our first piece of wood. The next step is to mark where our beam goes on our glulam. And how we're going to do that is we're just going to take our square, we're going to draw up the one side. As if you can see here, there's a line here. This is where the bottom of the beam is going to be. Little mark there. Then we put our 2 by 2 up there. And mark it on each side. We'll go ahead and mark this side of our beam, or I'm sorry, this side of our glulam. And if you'll remember in the previous video, we actually added an extra piece of glue lamination. This works out to our benefit. And the reason being is because we are actually going to cut out one, maybe 1.5 of these pieces of glulam, and then our beam will sit right inside of there. Just like that. Actually, we're going to cut this on an angle, but it'll sit something like that. So in a sense, it's making a little box or a pocket for our beam to sit in. Now that we've marked where our beam goes, our next step is to take our oscillating tool and cut into the sidewall there and make our first notch. Take a look. So what we're going to do now is we're going to lift our frame just a little bit. Then we're going to line up our tool with our line here. And we're just going to go in about 1/8 of an inch. Now that that's cut, we'll put our frame back down so it's solid. And we're going to use our sharp chisel, and we're just going to chip out our little block. Make sure that's cut nice and square. Okay, there's our first one. So we have a notch of about 1/8 of an inch in. It's the same width as our beam's going to be. Now, we need to lift that back up. Slide that under. Now remind you, we haven't cut the beam to the full length yet. We're just doing one side at a time. So if we do that, now we know what our angle is here to cut. So we're going to go back to the saw and we'll cut off this piece. Okay, let's go ahead and test fit that. Oh, that's beautiful. Let you take a look at that. That's a beautiful joint right there. Now we're going to go to the other side. All right, now we're here on the other end of that same beam, and I'll bring you in a little closer here. We're going to do the same thing as we did on the other side. We'll just move this out of the way. Again, we have our line here that we're lining up our beam with. We're going to mark that. Then we're going to pull our beam in place. Mark that side. Mark this side. And we'll run our line up this front side here. Oops. I say oops because you got to leave room for the blade cut. You don't want this too wide. We'll go there. Put on our safety ear protection. Lift our glulam out of the off the bottom here, and we'll cut away. Push it back down. Line up our chisel. Nice clean cut right out. Okay, now what we'll do, need to get that below. Push that back, forcing our beam that way, making sure it's in the pocket on the opposite end. And we'll make our mark where we need to cut, which isn't very much. I'll go do that cut and we'll be right back. Okay, we'll stick our piece in. Oh, that looks good. Push our frame back down. We're a little bit tight, so we're going to go ahead and use our drum sander to take off that little bit. And let's see how this fits. I think it'll be a good fit. Get our frame back down inside. Just do a slight tap. Oh yeah. I'd rather have it just a little snug than not enough. That's a beautiful joint right there. As you can see here, I've taken a few minutes while the camera was charging to add in our second beam. And I've already cut our notch up in the top of our first column up there. I have cut a notch in the bottom right down here. And now there's something new to show you. And we had to make a jig so that we can cut out our joints here and up there. So I'll go get that jig and we'll show you the next step in putting our frame together. In order to get our joints cut with our router, we went ahead and made this jig. This jig is really simple to make. And this way you can have one of your pieces of wood this way, and you can run your router back and forth here, and it'll cut out just the right width. And then you can just slide it along and cut as many of these equally spaced joints out as you need. So I'll go ahead and we'll set it up on our piece of wood, and then I'll show you how to make our lap joints. We're up here at the top of our frame, and we have our first column, and you can see we've cut our notch. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to raise this up just slightly so that we can place that where it's supposed to be, and the back will do the same thing. So we know our front joint is where it's supposed to be. We know our back joint is where it's supposed to be. So now we're going to go ahead and mark our beams, and now we're going to go ahead and put in our jig to where our column will overlap. So we just line up our line with our cutout piece here and here. Now we'll use our drill to secure our jig to our beam. Okay, that's not going anywhere. Now we need to go get our router and we'll route that out. So having routed out our joint right here, I would just place this. See how that'll fit nice and tight between there? That's what we want. We're going to go ahead and do that on this other one here. What this jig does is it keeps the router between this side and this side, so we have control over how big our little gap gets. All right, so our next step, after we remove our jig, is to put our column in place. Make sure it's snug up there. That is where it goes. Now, we need to make sure that the lines on our board down here line up with our beam, and they do. So then we're going to go ahead and mark on our column here where we need to cut the notch. So that'll be right there, there. Now it's got to make sure this one is lined up with our lines on our board here. That's lined up, so we're going to cut it there, there. And we'll turn it upside down. Mark the part we're going to cut out. Just lining up these lines with the ones on the side that we just took. Take our jig and then we'll screw it down to our column. And do the same process. So I'll cut out this one, and then I'll get back with you. Okay, we have our other two lap joints cut. So we'll go ahead and see how it fits. Put our top in. Pull that down slightly. Oh, that's a good, nice tight joint. That in, just like that. Yeah, very tight joint. There we go. There we go. We have our first column put in. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'll finish that one, and this one up here, because you don't need to see the same process over and over and over. And then we'll return, and well, here it is, Fern the Fan friends, our second frame. We have all the same dimensions and everything as our first one. The only difference between this frame and the other one is our doorway will go right here. Now we're going to go ahead and leave these beams in until we're ready to cut them out after it's up on the trailer and everything is secured in place. That way it'll just kind of keep it all nice and square. The final thing we need to do on this one is to drill some holes through our wood and into our beams and our columns to kind of hold those in place. We're also going to put some temporary screw fasteners in the centers of each of these here. So what we're going to do is a temporary hold. We changed out to a 1/4 inch bit. We're going to carefully raise our frame up out of its jig. Boy, it's tight. It is tight. There we go. So we want to hold the joints together. We're going to use this clamp. We're going to go down the center of our glue lamination to the center of our column. We have our 5-inch bolts. And that'll hold that in place. Go to our next column. Using the clamp so it keeps the beam and our glue lamination nice and flat together. And so on all the way around until we get all of our columns and beams connected together with these 5-inch lag bolts. Well, there you have it, Fern the Fan friends. 2 frames ready to put on the trailer. Hey, that's it for today's video. I want to thank you for stopping by, and if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And if you like what you've seen in these videos, go ahead, give it a thumbs up. Catch you next time. Next time we'll be talking about our joints and our plywood skirting.